What is going on, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the Sunday edition of the weekly Amazon Q&A show, where we also share some e-commerce news, some stats, the occasional business maxim, and of course, we are here to answer your questions and try to help you in your business selling on Amazon. So if you've got a question about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or perhaps you've just got to keep a quandary, drop it in the chat and we will help. And of course, we're getting to questions a lot earlier than we once did. So please let us know what you got. Now, for those of you who might be new here, my name is Chris Grant, and to my right is my inaccessible co-host, Chris Rasick. Chris, how is Sunday treating you, man?
Sunday is good. Yeah, you know what? Like when you have resources available to you, Q4 is not only good for selling, it could be darn good for sourcing as well. You know, you kind of like the roles that you can get on in Q4 are just next level. I mean, it just makes it feel so easy. You know, and it wasn't that long ago where there were certain days where it's just like, you kind of sit at your computer sometimes and you're like, I don't know where I'm going to go to get good inventory, inventory that I'm excited about. Not the case in Q4. So, feeling good. So, and I had to make sure that this is a new concept. I had to make sure that my keyboard and my new mouse were charged up for the show.
Right.
Because that's new. Luke is waiting on with bated breath for my final verdict on how the mouse and keyboard are going. But,
I'm gonna have to say it having to charge your keyboard and mouse is a bit of a pain. Now,
yeah.
May I ask, where is the charge port on your mouse?
It's right in front. It's like
Okay.
right there.
You know that I am in the cult of Mac, thoroughly entrenched. Tim Cook says jump. I just asked how high. Tim Cook says, hey, I need to redo the master in the yacht. And I say, well, how much can I give you? Because I know that that's important. But the Magic Mouse, the charge port is on the bottom, and it is the dumbest thing that I have ever seen from a company that emphasizes design. It makes the mouse unusable. It's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I charged it, and I just had one of my power banks, and I can just kind of slide it under the monitor because it's got a long enough cord, and I can, I plugged in to my mouse, so I still used it. Once that was fully charged, I plugged in my keyboard, which is a weird sentence to say. But and it just sat there and it was out of the way, but everything was perfectly usable. So, I don't know if this is like, if these are good tools or whether it just emphasizes how bad a bad keyboard can be, because I'm typing so much faster. It's back to what I'm used to again. So, but, hey, I wanted to share something, with you that I thought was really interesting because it's come up on the show and podcasts and stuff like that. But the scarcity mentality versus abundance mentality, right? I've mentioned a handful of times that I think I was wired with a scarcity mentality, and I'm trying to break free of that. And so I saw something interesting, and if you get sick of social media feeding you a bunch of junk, one good way to reset the algorithm is to just watch a few minutes of a TED Talk. My short form video has gone way up in quality. But so the Margaret Thatcher has a quote where she says, "Poverty is a personality defect." And so I saw this TED talk, and I got everything except the guy's name. I watched it a couple times because I liked it that much. But he said that poor people are perceived as having something wrong with them, right? And the numbers show that poor people, they smoke more, they drink more, they exercise less, they borrow more money, they save less money, and they eat less healthy, than people with more money. However, there was an interesting thing. There was a study done in the U.S. by a group of psychologists, and the paper that was published, they studied sugarcane farmers.
Mhm.
Okay, and now sugarcane farmers, they receive about 60% of all of their annual income at one time, right after the harvest, right? So essentially, they are poor for part of the year, and then they're pretty rich for the other part of the year, right? So what these psychologists did was that they tested these sugarcane farmers. They tested them before and after the harvest. Okay, they get IQ tests, right? Uh, the sugarcane farmers, the numbers worked out to before the harvest during their poorest part of the year. Uh, IQ points were 14 points lower
Wow.
than after the harvest, right? Yeah, I mean, incredible. So, and so they tried to, extrapolate, what that means and stuff. And I think it's pretty, pretty safe to assume that you can draw a correlation between people simply behave differently when something is perceived as scarce, whether that be money or food or whatnot. But yeah, so to actually get a 14-point IQ bump as a potential reward for breaking out of the scarcity mentality and moving to an abundance mentality. Um, yeah, like I didn't need more of a motivation, but I,
Right.
I thought that was crazy. The TED Talk. I take it out of context a little bit because the TED Talk was ultimately about a universal basic income, and the merits of it, but which I don't. I'm not sure I have an opinion on, but I thought that nugget was fascinating.
That is fascinating. Yeah, I kind of want to know more about the mechanism. Is it just the mentality of, there not being some scarcity, or is there more to it? Um, I am
Yeah,
I am curious.
yeah. I'd love to know. What did stress? How did that factor into it? Does that actually reduce your mental capacity? Or are you preoccupied with financial troubles? I'd love to know more. About what they thought the specific causes were.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Hmm.
So, but and related to this, I think everybody here, the two of us and the entire audience, we saw the opportunity with a side hustle, you know, and we have an opportunity to make significant income even from a part-time basis, So I think I don't know, kudos to us for like I don't know this confirmation that we're must be pretty smart,
Right.
and kind of puts the hustlers, and the people that take their free time from the 9 to 5 and use that free time to make more money, to become more financially secure. I think it reinforces the merits of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting. Hmm. I'm gonna go find that TED Talk. That seems fascinating. All right, let's talk one piece of news, and then we'll get to your guys' questions. I see a couple in there already, but we'll take anything you want to throw at us. So, apparently, there is a program coming soon called FBM Plus. You're going to get to be an MFer plus. So, after years of Amazon pushing sellers toward FBA, there's a new solution that's kind of expanding the self fulfillment side of selling on Amazon. This program is going to be called FBM Ship Plus. and it's a new delivery solution for self-fulfilled orders. It's going to allow sellers to offer expedited delivery speeds at no extra cost and show buyers more accurate delivery promises. Now, I don't know what they mean by no extra cost. I highly doubt that's going to be no extra cost in the cost of shipping. Perhaps they're just saying, hey, we're not going to charge you a fee for being part of this FBM Plus program. That's my guess. Okay. But Amazon did an internal pilot study, and apparently this produced significant results. Participating sellers saw an average 34% sales lift once the faster verified delivery dates were displayed on their listings. This sales boost came from a large improvement in delivery speed, according to Amazon, and packages were delivered an average of 9 days faster. Now, one thing to note is that this test was done with Chinese sellers. Okay. So de minimis exemption went away, but they have rolled this out to Chinese sellers first. I don't want that cash cow going away. And I did this because I can see Donald Trump being very upset. But this sales boost came from a large improvement, or sorry, the time saving was driven by two key changes. First, partner carriers shipped 2.5 days faster. And second, Amazon's new predictive model corrected sellers' manual estimates by 6.5 days. The FBM Plus program automates what was previously manual work, stuff that you had to figure out in your shipping template. Amazon assigns an accurate 1 business day handling time and fast delivery windows based on its partnered expedited carriers. Now, this is going to roll out to the US. They do say that they're going to be rolling this out to domestic sellers as well. But there are going to be some things that you have to do to participate, and Amazon's going to incentivize it because not only are they using this spoken wheel model for the FBA and try to make things faster, but it looks like they're trying to expand this to sellers, having even more delivery points around the country. It's smart, honestly. But to participate, you've got to use Amazon Buy Shipping. You're going to be able to get discounted shipping labels through Buy Shipping, Seller Central, via the API, or any other integrations, Vico, stuff like that. You're going to have to ship on time. So sellers must hand packages to partner carriers by the estimated ship date and ensure the package receives an acceptance scan within 48 hours. So, like, if I were going to do this personally, I would make sure that things are scanned rather than dropping them off at the post office, because that's where I always seem to get in trouble. Finally, you're going to be able to earn cash back. When all of these steps are met, a cash back credit is automatically applied to the seller's account. I highly doubt it's going to be much, but Amazon knows that you show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. So they're going to incentivize this just a little bit. Like I said, currently this is only available in China, but that will be coming to more markets and domestic routes. Yeah, that's really about it. There are going to be some limitations. It's only available for items shipped using standard shipping. But yeah, this seems interesting.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this. At first, I thought it would increase FBM sales because I pictured the customer, they know what they're getting with Prime shipping, right?
Mhm.
And I think if somebody is looking and they're comparing price, and an FBM offer is significantly cheaper than the Prime delivery, maybe some of the decision is determined by not knowing how long it's going to take to get that. I remember I saved a lot of money on books, buying them used. I'd buy the dirt cheap ones with and I ultimately didn't care what the delivery time was. It's like I'll get it when I get it. I'm picking it up for just a couple bucks. So I thought maybe that was it. But then when you found out that they rolled it out to Chinese sellers first, uh, that's when I kind of shifted, and I thought it was basically an answer to de minimis going away.
Hmm.
It seems like it's just a ploy to retain some of those sales, the cheap sales, by letting the customer know, like, okay, this is when you can expect it, and trying to revive a little bit of because they tried with Amazon Haul, I think they called it, and I think this might just be primarily uh, geared towards Chinese sellers. I'm not sure. We'll have to see what the impact is to U.S. sellers. But when I saw that note that it was Chinese sellers that they rolled it out to, a little bit of a light bulb went off.
Yeah. Yeah. I am curious about this. I don't expect it to be that crazy. I mean, we kind of already have pretty fast shipping. Uh,
Mm,
you can do 1 day handling, you can do 0 day handling. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
no.
All right, let's answer some of your guys' questions, and then we've got the next piece of news. Honestly, is fascinating. So the first one I've got here is, what are your thoughts on the new fee reduction incentive for business buyers? I know that Amazon has talked about for years about wanting to be able to grow that particular segment of the marketplace. Business buyers, they spend big bucks. I mean, you look at places like Uline, look at places like Granger. Some of the not HD Supply, which is a Home Depot subsidiary. There are places that specifically cater to business buyers, and they are massive businesses. So Amazon knows if they can get a piece of that, that they're going to be able to grow. So it makes sense. This again goes back to, in my opinion, you show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. And Amazon wants to get more buyers over there, which means they want to have lower prices, which means they reduce their fee to sellers and prices come down just a little bit. Or increase the inventory available, the number of SKUs available to business buyers. And it becomes this, you know, feedback loop. Um, I'm all about selling to business buyers. In my opinion, I make everything available to business buyers. Um, and we source some things that really sell much better to business buyers. And I mean, heck, I love seeing those 7, 8, 10, 20 items selling in one go, rather than the onesies twosies that are normal with the regular customer.
Yeah, yeah. It's being able to sell larger quantities. I mean, you have businesses are buying hundreds, if not thousands, of K cups at a time. And
Hmm.
reams of paper and all sorts of stuff. So, um, yeah, you know exactly why Amazon wants a piece of it. It's got to be excellent money, even with the discount. Quantity is going to make up for a lot. We know that on an individual basis.
Hmm. Bob G, I just made an Amazon business account to place my first Amazon to Amazon order, and my order got canceled instantly twice. Any ideas? Well, that's tough. That's tough to know for sure without, seeing, any cancellation reason or anything like that. Was it actually out of stock? It's hard to say. Could be lots of reasons that it got canceled. Louis or Lewis, any way you guys are compensating for not getting benefits from an employer, like a 401k, insurance, etc.? Well, I mean, I just bite the bullet on the insurance. There's not really a lot you can do there. I think my family's health insurance premium is around $1,300 a month. Just four times my wife's car payment. 1,300 times my own car payment because I haven't had a car payment in years. But um, that's all you can do there. On the investment side, I put some money. I try to do it weekly, but it usually happens monthly into an index fund and a little bit of crypto. I'm not. I like to be a little degenerate.
Yeah, I mean I think probably the best thing. I now take this for what it's worth. This isn't financial advice or whatever, but um, I think probably the best thing you can do is max out the Roth contribution every single year. And I'm unfortunately getting old enough to do catch-up contributions. You're not too far away. But yeah, I love Roth IRAs. The absolute best thing as far as investing consistency goes, automatic deductions are hands down my favorite vehicle. I just I was nervous when I quit the 9 to 5, because I had those things set up, and then I just decided, I said, you know what, I'm just going to keep them going. And my only option is to have the money in there, and just find a way. And luckily I've had everything going. I have automatic deductions going for my kids' 529 account. Those are just taken out automatically. Um, and you know what, I even did the math. I have it's every 2 weeks because that's how my paychecks are. No, no, it was twice a month. I was paid on the 15th in the end of the month. I was paid twice a month, 24 pays. So, if I did the math right, I can't double check it in public right now, but 1150 every 2 weeks would end up putting $300 in an account for you. So you set up a handful of those, and just have $300 a year going in a couple different places. It adds up pretty quick, and the best part is you truly don't even notice it. Just these little, it's a coffee run. If you're getting coffee for yourself and somebody else, you just don't notice it. I have automatic deductions just coming out all over the place. So
just get a part-time job for the benefits. No. I am terminally unemployable. That is, I am not I'm not bad at working. But I really tend to fight the box that businesses put you in. Um, yeah. I clawed my way out once. I'm not going back.
and something that I've thought about, this isn't a high impact profession. Like what we do is it's pretty simple. Like as long as we can stay up with the technology and the changes and whatnot. I we'll put it this way. I felt a lot better about retirement income when I started doing this, believe it or not. Because I feel like I can keep doing this to some capacity well into my years, where the traditional, work until you're in your mid 60s and retire. Like we can keep doing this beyond, to some degree. So I don't know. I'm not, the thought of never stopping working doesn't bother me.
Me neither. Not at all. A matter of fact, I mean, I know I was in an industry where it skewed older. And I was in the insurance industry, and I saw too many of um, the OGs, the old guys, retire, and it wasn't very much longer after that I was going to a funeral. And
Mhm.
so one that scares me. Two, as long as I've got my mental faculties, I don't see not doing something. Um, I don't know, I just sitting down all day long to watch you know, Murder She Wrote reruns, like that does not appeal to me. So I'd much rather I don't know. For me, when I get to be however old it is, I don't know whether it'll be 70 or what, but like I could see like getting up, going to the gym, doing some work, and then, you know, maybe you're done by like 4 so you can hit the early bird special over at the MCL cafeteria or something,
I don't know. Murder She Wrote and a big bowl of Werther's. Luke's starting to salivate a little bit.
right? He's just wanting 70 to show up now. That and, you know, some strawberry goo candy.
Oh, don't get me started on the strawberry goo. Like to have some to have Jaren step in the chat and proclaim a, a defense for strawberry goo hard candy. That's revolting. Like I can like I can deal with Luke. Don't tell me that there's more than one uh, defending the strawberry goo candy. I can't. I'll lose my
I,
mind.
I have I have an iron stomach. Okay. Like there is nothing that makes my gag reflex go except that strawberry bottom of the purse candy. That's the only thing in my life, the only food I've ever tried in my life that actually got my gag reflex going. And that's true story. Um,
Yeah. I mean, you talk about bottom of the barrel. Like you're only reaching for the strawberry goo candy when it's
because
between
there's no
that.
circus peanuts.
Yeah, circus peanuts are too hard. You're worried about chipping your tooth or something like that. And like the only other option is like a cough drop. It's like, well, all right, maybe I'll go with the strawberry goo. That's the only acceptable reason to open up one of those strawberry hard candies.
Shannon, do you think it would be wise to go through a catalog and lower prices for business? Mine is available, but not at a reduced price. So, Shannon, I happen to know, kind of your catalog makeup. Um, I would probably be selective. I'm sure that there are quite a few things that you carry that are probably ordered by businesses. Um, and I might select some things and lower the price a little bit for business buyers. If you think there's something that would be purchased in bulk.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any evidence behind this, but I feel like business buyers aren't necessarily discount hunters.
Probably not. Especially come into the quarter and they want to make sure that their budget doesn't get slashed for the next quarter.
Yeah, yeah, you have to, it comes tax time or something like that, and you need to burn some excess cash. Yeah, you don't really care what the price is. Now,
Hmm.
getting the buy box and positioning from a seller perspective, that's obviously a different story. But
Yeah. Sarah, following up on the business incentives question, other than the incentive Amazon's offering currently, do the fees reduce if a customer orders more quantity or are the fees fixed? Your referral fee is going to be fixed. It's going to be on a per unit basis. But the FBA fee, I'm like your pick and pack or your shipping cost. I'm not 100%. I've never looked into that, so I would need to look into it and see if you get a bit of a reduction there. That's I go into the weeds. I typically don't go that deep into the weeds on stuff, and so that's my fault. Sorry, I was just seeing here if there is a Deal Hunter. Just curious, if I have only 3 items available at, let's say, $25 each, the next seller in line has it at $30 each. When a customer orders 6 items, will Amazon honor the $25 for all 6 items? No, I don't believe so. Like, typically what I've seen in those cases where, for example, if I were going to do a Amazon to Amazon flip on a third party seller, you're only able to get the quantity that that person has in stock. All right. Well, if you guys have more questions, drop them in the chat. I see Luke's taking care of Bob G. Let's talk about this next piece of news. There was a report about the Amazon marketplace that came out, and it was a big report. And so I tried to pull out as many of the highlights as possible. And I know it's no secret that Chris and I are bullish on the Amazon marketplace. And I think that even if you are not, or if you're straddling the fence a little bit, that this may actually make you bullish. But according to Amazon's 2024 Small Business Empowerment Report, independent sellers have fundamentally transformed retail economics. Let's first talk about cumulative sales and growth metrics. Total sales generated between the year 2000 and 2024 from third party sellers is $2.5 trillion. Um, that's an insane number. Revenue growth trajectory 2021 third party sellers was $470 billion. Or sorry, that was Amazon's total revenue. Q1 of 2025, $155.7 billion. Now we know that Q4 will be larger. I know we've talked about the Q2 and the Q3 numbers. So I can't remember. I think those were bigger as well. But just at staying exactly at that 155 per quarter, we're looking at over $600 billion in sales as well. That's a 38% growth rate over 4 years. The third party seller market share in 2021 was 56% of units sold. In 2024, it was 62% of units sold. And in 2025, they estimate that it will be 20 or 61% of units sold. Nice stable trend there, despite there being gating issues, despite there being brands that have come on and handled sales themselves, like Nike, like Clinique, etc. Okay. There is active seller decline despite growth. Annual new seller additions remain pretty level at 1 million active seller accounts added per year, or 1 million new sellers added per year. Active seller count, though, in 2021 was 2.4 million. In 2025, it's estimated at 1.9 million active sellers, a net reduction of 500,000 sellers, or a 21% decline. And this decline occurs despite continuous new seller registration. It's kind of indicating there's some marketplace consolidation, right? Amazon also reports that independent sellers now employ over 2 million people across the United States, representing an increase of 11% from 2023. In 2024, the states that created the most jobs is California at 287,000. Makes sense. Texas at 243,000. Good old state of Florida at 198,000. And then there's New York, Georgia, Illinois, Pennsylvania, dark horse in the race, Washington, Jersey, and North Carolina coming in all after that. All of them but New Jersey and North Carolina with more than 100,000 seller created jobs. FBA performance metrics. Total items shipped, 80 plus billion. Average daily shipments is 13 million. Same and next day delivery coverage in the United States, 67% of the US population gets same or next day delivery. Traffic to seller ratios. This one's really interesting. There are 3 marketplaces that have more visits per seller than the United States. The first is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has 89.7 million in monthly traffic volume on Amazon.sa, but there's only 10,900 active sellers on that platform. That's 8,228 visits per seller. South Africa is at 45.2 million in monthly traffic. There's only 5,600 active sellers for 8,000 visits per seller. Amazon Singapore is at 98.4 million. There's 21,000 active sellers at 4,500 visits per seller. And then the United States comes in at 2.4 billion hits per month on their website. There's 863,000 active sellers. Not all of those are from the US. That is 2,837 visits per seller. And that number is actually expected to go up. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Amazon reports that over 55,000 independent sellers achieved more than $1 million in sales during 2024, which is actually substantial growth from the previous year. There were 40,000 million-dollar sellers in 2021, 55,000 million-dollar sellers plus in 2024, a growth rate of 37%. In 2023, in 2024, the average number of sales per seller was 290,000. In 2023, that number was 250,000. That's a 16% year over year increase in the average annual sales per seller. All right. And of course, Marketplace Pulse identified a bunch of factors driving the reduction in active sellers. Fee structure evolution, business got harder. They say average total fees now exceed 50% of revenue. They're talking about brand owners who are running PPC. They are not talking about those of us who do arbitrage. That number is lower. Increased advertising costs, additional service fees, and things like that are what drove people away. There is significant international competition. Chinese sellers represent 50% or more of the top 10,000 sellers in the United States. Fortunately, not very many of them are doing arbitrage. There is increased manufacturer participation. So think Nike, Adidas, etc. And then, of course, there's some price pressure on commodity products. And those are kind of the big reasons that people left. Now, here's something that's interesting. There are some, success tends to leave clues. 60% of the top 10,000 sellers on the platform registered before 2019. This is not a get rich quick game. This is a get rich over time game. The average tenure of successful sellers is 6.3 years. The new seller first year failure rate is 68%. That's right in line with like restaurants and stuff like that. It's pretty high. there is some continued market consolidation in the outlook. Active seller count is estimated to decline to 1.7 million sellers. And that would actually mean that traffic per seller in the US could exceed 3,500 visits per seller per month in the United States. Um, that that will be a good thing on a per seller basis. You will like what happens if that becomes the case.
Yeah, man, that's there's a lot to unpack. Um, some trends that we knew that continued. We've reported now. This isn't the first time that we've reported that the more seasoned seller accounts are the most successful. But you can take from that, the longer you stay in the game, the more successful you'll be. And then, kind of some anecdotal trends. We're actually getting some evidence confirming some of the things that we've just kind of poked around and thought about. Is that these sellers moving off the platform. Everyone joked. Like the joke was on us. We were homers. And we were shills for Amazon when everybody was moving over to Walmart. And I have a handful of memes, probably at least half a dozen memes, uh, along the lines of, well, more for us that stick around. That whatever the storm is that you think is coming. Like what increased fees, like they always go up. They've been going up. Almost every single year for every single seller. Um, but it was a little bit of a shiny object syndrome, and this actually fleshes that out. We're actually seeing this is actually bigger percentages, bigger numbers than I even expected. I thought there'd be just maybe little hints of a bigger piece of the pie for the people that stick around, but it's pretty significant. There's so much to go over here. It's so you basically see the people. I don't know. I don't think it's unfair to classify the people who are treating this like an actual business are becoming $1 million sellers. They're just problems come in, fee increases come in, and you figure out the solution like a business owner has to do. That's not outside of the realm of any self-employed business owner. That's just how this game works. And the ones they're figuring it out, they're moving on, and they're making do. And they just keep on going, and they're turning into $1 million sellers at a huge clip. That's really fascinating to see the number of $1 million sellers scaling that fast, and then the overall seller count. Like, is this? Well, let me ask you this: is this more than essentially the tire kickers throwing in the towel? Like, how do you process all this data?
Yeah, I think that's got to be a lot of it. I mean, what's one of the biggest complaints that we hear? I can't sell anything because I'm gated in everything. Um, and we know that that's not true, although it feels that way sometimes. Uh, and I think it is the rare person who's willing to push through that discomfort. Um, I mean, we happen to like the make money online space. We listen to a lot of the podcasts, the influencers who talk about making money with different side hustles. I mean, how many people are jumping, from this to that to this and trying to find that thing that's easy that makes them money right now. So I mean, it's got to be a large percentage of people who are just like, this isn't for me because it's not simple. It's not easy. It is
Mhm.
simple. It is simple. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, I kind of think that because we had a comment on the last show that we did that asked, um, it was basically reflecting on the last few years. And one of the comments was basically Amazon Twitter is pretty quiet these days. And that's not
Hmm.
something that we would argue. It is. Um, However, it's still a good place. Like I still check it every day. I still learn just as much. The people that aren't talking on Amazon Twitter, it wasn't necessarily educational content anyway. I tend to lean towards the people that went away from Amazon Twitter probably were taking a little bit more than they're given. If you want to be
Yeah.
diplomatic about it. Um, but so I just wonder if since those people left, maybe the people that kind of needed their hand held, they don't have anybody to hold their hand. They don't have big loud voices and Lamborghinis and stuff, on their Twitter feeds so much anymore. So maybe that creates the perception that that it's kind of faded away, and they're not necessarily interested in it because they want some sort of physical appeal.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, I think we're in for good times. I mean, that's
Mhm.
out of everything. I mean, I like reading through all the numbers. I think it's fascinating. But out of everything, I think the biggest takeaway is those of us who are willing to stick around. We're gonna be in for some good things.
Yep, I totally agree.
Excuse me. All right. So T-Ware. Um, I was reading through your comments here, and I'm gonna just pop into the question here. But so in the process of, and first of all, congratulations for taking the steps to, you know, work on yourself and your financial situation, all that stuff. That's fantastic. It's a lot more than a lot of people will do. Rather bury their head in the sand. I've been there. My question is, in the process of all of doing all that, you've been watching a bunch of videos to stay in the loop and get prepared. Anything else I should be doing? Um, I'm going to be quite frank with you. You probably need to take some action. Like, unless you are like 100%, for sure, like I've got to have this much saved up before I can start this business. If you know what you're doing, if you've done it before and you're keeping abreast of what's going on, and you have some money that you can spend on inventory, um, I would I would stop getting prepared because you can prepare forever. And I would do some doing, buy a little bit of inventory, sell it, sell it merchant fulfilled, like make some cash that way. You can turn that over pretty quick. uh, Pay yourself from day one. That way you can, continue saving and stuff like that. I think that's probably the most important thing out of what I read there.
Yeah, it's be aware that education can easily turn into procrastination. Um, just make sure that you sprinkle some action in there. I think that's the key because it's not only is it putting all this preparation, it's not only rubber meeting the road. Um, it's also proof of concept. Which is pretty important. It's because you can have stuff and lock it away and do all this preparation, but actually seeing it actually come through, and positive dollars hitting your accounts and that hits different, no
Mhm.
doubt about it. You have to connect the two, the education and the action.
Deal Hunter, how can I replace my name on FBM labels with the company name? Um, I see you did it in Vico, but can't figure it out in Seller Central. I am not sure if you can do it under your shipping settings. or if it automatically fills in with what's in your tax info. That's another one of those really in the weeds questions that I know that I've done. Like, it's not my personal name on the shipping labels. I know that for sure. But I would have to go and find out again on how to do that, or if you can, or if it's just pulled from your tax interview. Let's see here. Yeah, absolutely. All right. If you guys have more questions, drop them in the chat, and we'll be happy to get to them. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something that came through today. This was something that came through in the OAC Plus chat, and honestly got me kind of fired up. But one of the members said, they've had Storefront Stalker Pro for about a month now. You get that for free. You get the entry level for free if as an OAC Plus member. They started with the 3 free stores, quickly jumped to pay for the 20 stores, which you get at a significant discount. And I wanted to share this to highlight the massive potential of this program. Even with my short experience and newbie choice of stores so far, I found one Halloween product to FBM, and I knew I'd need to move fast. The ROI actually sucked when I was at the competitive price, but in a week of selling 50 units, I made not only my money back, but enough profit to cover 5 months of Storefront Stalker Pro. And of course, Chris for teaching it every single Monday and how to properly use it and all that stuff. But this is awesome. This is why OAC Plus was built. We don't. Yes, there's a cost. However, I think the important thing is that we're seeing more and more people making much more than their investment every single month. And that is the important part. Not only because you get access to Storefront Stalker Pro, there's also Amazon to Amazon flip leads that run 24/7 in a dedicated channel. There's $3,000 worth of courses that you can get access to. There's live over the shoulder sourcing sessions with Chris every single Monday at 9. We do weekly live coaching. This week's was, I'm going to toot my own horn here. This week's was fantastic. We had Shannon Jean in there. And Chris, you said it best. He's a double shot of entrepreneur espresso.
Yeah.
Listening to him.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
he just gets you fired up. I mean, that was
yeah,
great.
yeah, he really does. You get free entry to every future OA challenge live. Of course, we've got an active community inside of Discord. And then if things go sideways, like, we help you out. If you get suspended, we'll write POAs for you. If you have a problem with one of your ASINs, like, we've handled all of those. We haven't, I think we've had 5 or 6 people go through section 3s, got them taken care of. I don't know of one person that hasn't come back from their section 3 quite yet. And we've had IP complaints handled, all kinds of stuff. So honestly, if you want to join, I would highly suggest you do it. We're looking for the right people, and I think the right people come to this show every single week. So if you're interested, link is down below the video. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, that message was awesome, and we've received more like it too. Well, Luke, Luke even said something. He mentioned a product that he watched me sourcing on a Monday night show. He rabbit trailed off of that, and I think he said he's replened it a couple times. I think he found a couple other products from it. Like, each individual component is enough to pay you back for the membership fee and then more. And we're starting to see results from the members now. And as the more people come in, and they're going to have their favorite part of the community, and then they're going to focus on it, and they're going to become successful, and we'll just have more of these stories, hopefully. And that's the challenge to the members out there. Like, make sure that you're celebrating your wins. Make sure we show it, because like the bigger the group, the stronger the group becomes. It kind of
Hmm.
fortifies that foundational base that all the people that are in there now. Um, and it's just going to keep getting better. Um, yeah, I can't wait to see more of these wins, and you have ASIN reviews. Like, you think about, like, certain people take advantage of different things.
Hmm.
I don't think Heather's here. I haven't seen her, but she takes advantage of the ASIN reviews. If
Yep.
you're a new seller, there's a ticket system to where, if you're questioning a test buy, you can actually open a ticket, which is confidential, and you can actually submit the information and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying 5 or 6 units. What would you do? What do you think?" And you'll have me or Chris, or Chris. Most of the time, Chris does a Loom video. So he breaks it down on video for you. And that kind of peace of mind, especially to a new seller, you don't get that too many places. So
Yeah.
and that's just one example. I mean, this the commercials for what this community can do, and how it can benefit you, just they'd be too long to be comprehensive, to be honest.
Yeah. And we're gonna make it better. That is my promise, my guarantee. Matter of fact, we had some pretty cool people join not too just this week. I won't
Yep.
say who, because I don't want that to be a selling point, but uh, had a couple of cool people join this week. So all right. Well, if nobody else has any questions, I only put together those pieces of news because that last piece was long. Chris, you got anything before we head out of here?
Did you hear about the person? I think they got in a little bit of trouble, or at least they got publicly shamed. Did you hear about the guy that posed as an attractive female on one of the dating apps? Uh,
No, I did not.
yeah, so he grabbed a picture of an attractive woman, joined a dating site, and purposely he put in his interest section that she liked to fish. And this guy was actually catfishing guys in order to find their secret fishing spots. And she would coerce the he would coerce the information out of them, and then go fish where their favorite spots were.
I mean, you've gotta really love fishing, you know, to I there's some things I love. There's not anything I love so much that I would go and catfish people on dating sites to try to get that information out of them.
Right. Like, it's like the incredible love of fishing, and then just exploiting the worst part of this internet age that we live in. Like, it's incredible.
Right? Yeah, that's crazy. I'll tell you what, we got one more question here. If my goal is to get back to selling on Amazon, but to not use my capital, so I mean, I'm guessing you mean your cash, um, while your credit is being fixed, is there any other way you would get capital to return back to selling on Amazon? Um, yeah, I would I would go and get some things for free or cheap off of places like Facebook Marketplace, Free Cycle. Go on a walk in your neighborhood. Okay. You on the night before trash day, you'd be surprised what's out there. In my neighborhood, I have, and I can't get my kids, of course, to go do anything with this. Um, I've seen Blackstones, I've seen grills, I've seen $1,500 rowing machines. I've seen skis, snowboards, and all kinds of stuff. Um, there are a lot of arbitrage opportunities outside of Target and Walmart. Okay. Listen, I am not above. dumpster diving. Matter of fact, I used to do it behind Ohio State University when kids were moving out, and I would grab books and flip some of those textbooks. I would not do that today. I do not want to sell a book that smells like Jaeger on Amazon, but back in the day, I would do it. Uh, the amount of stuff that gets thrown out at my son's job at Home Goods is insane to me. There is money everywhere. You just have to be willing to go out and find it and then sell it somewhere. Heck, there is someone in Shannon's mastermind, the guy that we interviewed this past Thursday. He goes and he picks up couches from Facebook Marketplace for free, takes them back to his place, cleans them, takes better photos of them, does not stop motion,
Time lapse.
those sped up time lapse videos, does time lapse videos of himself cleaning the couches, and then sells them back on Facebook Marketplace. There is money everywhere.
Yep. And well, they clarify. I'm trying to start with capital. Talking about a loan or something. You know what? You don't want to introduce added expenses if you don't have to. The probably the easiest way of borrowed money would be a 0% interest 12-month period on a credit card.
Which sounds like you have trouble with. Because you're trying to fix your credit.
Yeah, trying to rebuild the credit.
And that's where I was coming from. So, and I'm not like, listen, I'm trying to, I want to be kind. I don't want to like call you out. Okay. But it sounds like you're in a spot where maybe coming up with doing the hard work and coming up with the money may be better than going. I mean, if you can't get a credit card, you're probably not going to get a loan. I don't suggest that you go asking family members or friends for loans. That puts things in a tough place. So honestly, do some work, come up with the money. Like there are ways to get cash pretty quickly in a lot of different ways. All right. I hope that helps. I want to see you win. I hope you know that more than anything. Like I want to see you win one way or the other. So, all right, guys, that's we'll call it there for today. We'll be back this Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. And we'll do this thing all over again. Until then, I hope you guys absolutely crush the week. We'll talk to you soon.